Welcome to the Balancing Acts. Our guest today is Alexis Cuarezma, and he's an awesome photographer and director. And we'll be sharing a lot, definitely a lot of good gems, a lot of good experience. Um, if you haven't seen his Instagram, check it out. It's one of the best Instagrams, well curated and a lot of amazing work. And today he has a book here. I'm just going to start on that. And he's going to tell us where to find it at. So that's going to be part of the conversation that we have. But hey, Alexis, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This is good. This is good. I love that you brought the book. A lot of us have seen your work online and part of this is to have the conversations and we're going to start from the beginning,
Okay.
How did this journey start for you as a photographer?
I started photographing Little League baseball, actually, my brother, because it's what I had access to. And the way I actually got into photography is because ever since I could remember being little, I always loved drawing.
Yeah.
And I always loved art and drawing. And I was always, that's the one skill I always had. My older brother was really athletic, and I sucked at anything athletic. Like, I was not coordinated like him at all. I was more quiet, withdrawn. And then, like, later on in my life, I know I really like computers. And then when I got into college, I had no idea what to major in. And then so I was like, oh, why not, combine the two, art and computers, which is graphic design.
Yeah.
So that was my original major, graphic design. But I always kind of had an interest in photography. And I know one of the biggest mistakes I made is to listen to people. Because in high school, I always had the interest taking a photography class.
Yes.
But I would ask all my classmates, oh, how is that class?
Yeah.
And they would say, oh, man, it's great, but it's a ton of work. Don't take it. It's a ton of work. So I would listen to them, and I'm like, okay, so I never took it.
Yeah.
In high school. And then in college, being the technical major was an art major with an option in graphic design.
Okay.
And then that graphic design option under the art major had a lot of overlaps with photography.
Okay.
So that's where I took my first photography class, first darkroom class. And when I took that class, I absolutely loved it. And then just like dove like head on to like photography. And then I would say the biggest thing that I learned is that initially, like when I first had that love for photography, I thought that it was like something like completely technical. That, Like, I thought that some like secret settings you put in the camera and like or a lens and that would equate to an amazing photograph.
Yeah.
So I dove into the technicalities of photography. And learning a lot of the technical stuff, the lighting especially. And then like when I started working, I realized it's like, oh, damn, like I have to interact with people and I'm awkward as hell. So like
I never got that from you, but
So that's where I learned. I was like, okay, cool. Now I should need to work on my interpersonal skills because it's like doesn't matter. Like it's not like being a graphic designer where you could just like design, do stuff on your own.
Yeah.
Like you have to interact with people. In photography, I would say it's 90, 95, in my opinion, 95% like your interaction with people.
Yeah.
And the rest, like 5-10% is like on your skills.
That's true. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Yeah, to be a good photographer, that goes to directing and, like you have to work with talent. But it's interesting that you're reserved, but you thought you were reserved because I've met you. How do you work through that? Before I ask, do you want to raise his mic a little bit or how does it feel? It's pretty good? Yeah. Okay. All right. How did you work through that, knowing, as you said, you're a little bit more reserved as a person, but have to be in this position where you have to engage with other people? Because photographers, you're basically directors. You have to kind of guide them. Hey, I need you to pause this way. I need to, communication and all that. Yeah. How do you navigate that?
Well, and get access too, right? And you can't get access to like depending, like even it's real fortunate because even I started with Little League, then I worked my way up to my old high school to photograph football games. And the athletic director, Gloria Gutierrez, I believe is her last name, or Gloria's her first name. I'm not sure if I'm butchering her last name, but she was just so kind. And because I remember trying to go to football games to just photograph them to get practice because I wanted to be a sports photographer. And then she was just so kind and sweet. She's like, oh, no, you don't got to pay to get in. Just come. You can cover all the games that you want. And so that right there tells you it's just like, to a certain extent, you do have gatekeepers almost because, like, athletic director could have said no. Like, what are you doing here and everything like
Yes.
that. And then a thing that did help me was going to college, because to me, I was really awkward, didn't know how to approach people, and what going to college gave me the opportunity to say, hey, I'm a college student, I'm working on this project. Could I photograph X, Y, and Z? So it gave me a reason to say, like, because otherwise, if I wasn't a college student, what would I say? Like, oh, I just want to photograph.
I just want to photograph you guys.
Yeah, which I'm sure there's a way you could go around it if you have more interpersonal skills than I had.
Street or documentary.
Yeah. But like for me, that being a college student helped me, like using that as an excuse or a reason to like, oh, I'm doing this for a college project.
Yes.
And that helped open the doors. But to answer your question, I think it's just like you get put like, I don't like to. Some people love to label themselves and they like pride on their labels, like, oh, I'm an introvert, and like they wear that like a pride of honor. And to me, it's just like I was an introvert, but it's like you can't be if you really care about something. Like for like doing anything photographer or director to you, you're gonna have to go out and meet people you don't know. You're gonna have nobody is gonna. One of the things I learned the hard way, in another project that I did, is like no one is gonna champion your work like you are. Not an agent, not a manager, not a friend. Like it's you. Like if you don't believe in yourself, why would anyone else believe in you?
True.
So you have to like be able to get that self-belief, and if you have that doubt, then you have to work on whatever is giving you that doubt. So if you want to be a photographer, you have no idea how to work the camera or what lenses are, then you need to figure that out and have that in your back pocket and be sure that you know the technical aspect on it. Because I told you, like, I thought initially that's what made a good photograph.
Yes.
Right. So I don't want to say I had no problem with the technical ability, but I was technically proficient.
Yes.
Using the camera. So I knew my way around the camera. And then I could go up to the person and ask for that permission or say this and and another quote that I heard that I take a lot of like comfort in is saying, if you're not if you're not messing up, then you're not doing enough. Right. So like
you're not trying hard.
Yeah, you're not trying hard enough, and I take comfort in that because I mess up a lot. So, you know what I mean. As long as you don't do anything drastic bad, short of killing anybody, like right, then you're good. Just keep going. But yeah, it's just like you realize, at least for me, you come to a crossroads, and you're like, okay, cool. Like, am I gonna just stay quiet and comfort and not do anything?
Yeah. Or
am I gonna go out and try to do something?
True.
And then that's where, like, for me, like listening to interpersonal. Like life coaches and like how to work on your people skills. That's where it helped out a lot. Listening to like Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, and Tony Robbins.
Yes.
And essentially all they do is they study human behavior, and it's broken down to it makes a lot of sense. It's just like people want to avoid pain.
Yes.
And get comfort.
That's true.
And like and you got to just think in your mind. All right, cool. If I'm scared to go up to this person, this talent, or this gatekeeper or manager, whomever. Right? Like, why are you scared? Because you're scared. At the end of the day, it ends up being fear, right? And fear could come in rejection. It could come in embarrassment. It could come in anything that in shame. And if you think in your mind, okay, cool, I'm more comfortable not doing anything because I won't be rejected, then you won't do anything. But if you realize that, okay, cool, like it's a lot worse that what I could have done, what you missed out on, what you could have done if you actually went to that person and said yes.
Yes. That's true.
Right. So
That's
to me,
true.
that always just like drives me more. Okay, like why am I being more comfortable? I'm like, okay, cool. Like, because in your mind you're thinking if it doesn't work out, if you get rejected. But if you start thinking the other way, okay, if I don't get rejected and I make that connection and I do X, Y, and Z, and this could happen and it leads to success, it's just like right. Then the fear of not doing that is going to be greater, and it's going to drive you and pull you to actually going to that person and making it happen.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. It sounds like you thrive from being uncomfortable.
I would say that not uncomfortable. I went to a phase where that I stopped getting nervous.
Yes.
And because I remember a long time ago, like 10 years ago, I was doing like a colleague had a podcast in his in Las Vegas at WPPI, and then I remember like I thought it was just gonna be small, but went to his hotel room. He started setting up mics and everything like that, and it was like, damn, it looks so like official, and I started getting nervous, and I was like, oh man, and like I pretty much like 10 years ago, I went through a phase where I think I kind of stopped getting nervous because I reached a threshold that was so high. And that was right before I photographed Floyd Mayweather.
Okay.
And like that was the, thank you. That was one of the most nerve-wracking like situations I was in because he's a quite a personality.
Yes.
And then, I remember Derek Barbanti, the producer that was there for Showtime, which I knew from photographing boxing and underworld here. He was real kind and amazing. He was just like, Floyd. He's like, Floyd was like, yeah, what? He said, what we got to do? He's like, I want to introduce you to one of the best photographers I know. And so he introduces me to Floyd, and then he takes a photo of us together, which is great. And like he was just telling me like, all right. He's like, you'll be able to photograph him in between. They were filming the promo for when he fought Pacquiao.
Yeah.
And so they were doing the video shoot for that.
Yes.
And then they were like, okay, you get to photograph him when there's a quick break.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, so be ready. And I'm like, okay, great. And then so I had everything ready. And then there was a quick break that came up, and he was like, all right, Floyd. He's like, yeah, what we got to do? He's like, we got to go take photos. He's like, all right, cool, let's go knock him out. And then by the time where he got like to that punch to where I was set up, which wasn't that far, he was just like already had like a change of heart. He's like, how long is this gonna take? And I was like, it won't take long, Floyd. And then I just shot everything. It was 30 seconds the whole shoot, but I got what I needed. And I survived that. And then after that, I don't know if, for whatever reason, maybe I passed my threshold of that. I stopped getting nervous after that. Wow. And I remember a year afterwards, I had a speaking engagement at a conference called Imaging USA for photography.
Yes.
And I remember like before that speaking conference, like I had a photographer like that's been doing it for like 40 years. And I was talking to him just like at a meeting here, and he was telling me just randomly, he was just like, man, if you ever do a talk like in these big conferences, he's like, one of the hardest things to do, one of the most nerve-wracking things to do is doing a talk, and then they have you do a live shoot demo on stage.
Oh, wow.
He's like, that's the hardest thing to do. And this guy's been doing it for like 40 years. He's like a legend here in the Bay Area. His name is Handsome Fong.
Uh-huh.
He used to be like the man shooting weddings back in the 90s.
Yes.
He remember him telling me that. And then anyhow, so past that shoot with Floyd, and then past that, the following year where I was doing that talk, Imaging USA, I was doing a live shoot in Texas. And I remember my sponsor at the time, Bay Photo, that was introducing me at that time. I remember, man, Roy, being so calm. And like when they were introducing me, I was so calm and so relaxed that I was starting to get concerned of how relaxed I was. Because I remember thinking, do I not care about this? Right? And I remember everything. And then from that, because I used to be nervous before doing public talks.
Yeah.
But after that thing with Floyd, I stopped and then I did the shoot went great. And what I remember after that, since I stopped being so nervous,
Yes.
I actually started having fun and enjoying it and doing the talks. I'm not saying I'm the best public speaker, but I think when you're relaxed and you're having fun,
That's
people
true.
notice that and and they take note of everything. And so yeah, after that with Floyd, I just stopped getting nervous. I went through a few phases like that, photographing pro athletes, because you don't get a lot of time with them.
Yes. The window. It's a window.
And I learned the hard way too. On the first cover like that I shot for Sports Illustrated, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna have 10 minutes, with the talent," and I had everything planned out, and then he just walked away after like 3 minutes, and I was like, "Oh damn!" I was like, "Thank God I got what the editor told me to get."
Yeah.
But it's just being in those situations like that where just like it's a high pressure situation, but thank God, also thank myself for the preparation,
Yeah, that's true.
that every time I was able to deliver in those situations,
Yeah.
and do something like that. And just like, you end up doing that so much that like, it just like, I don't know, you survive so much that it's like you stop getting nervous and then you could just focus on what needs to be done. And doing shoots for HBO like that, like gets your nerves out of the way. Like I do a lot of, for HBO, I used to do, unit photography, but then also portraiture that they needed.
Mm-hmm.
So like when they film a show, you have a list of like 6 A-list talents, right?
Showing up and
and then they tell you, okay, you're gonna have to get portraits of all 6 people, but when you're gonna have to pull them right on your own when there's a downtime and you get like 30 seconds with them, right?
Yeah.
So what that does is suffocates indecision and it suffocates all like the starstruck because you can't be starstruck.
That's
Because
true.
it's like I have to do this and I have to do this
pull-
job.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like literally one shoot I photographed Mary J. Blige, Nas. There were like a lot of people there, and I just Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
And like, just have to like, okay, boom, let me get this and shoot it. Like there's no time to be nervous. There's no time to be starstruck. You got to get the job done. Or if you suppose you could get starstruck, but then you're not going to get hired again because you're not going to do the job.
That's true. That is true. And like I think That's a very good point, and I know a lot of people are probably getting into this space or are in this space and not able to navigate. So, what's your shot list like? Like you're pulling them away. Are you? Do you already have a predetermined kind of like shots that you're like, this would be great to get with these guys? I'm pulling you just snap, snap, snap because the pressure is on.
Yeah, it's for individual person. It's what I did with Floyd and Manny. Is you get an extreme close up shot of their head
Yeah.
that could be usable, and you get a 3/4,
Yeah.
and you get them frontal, and you get them 3/4 in the side. And that's usually my 30-second routine that I do. And if you get
like
more time, then you get
start
more
getting
time. And you're
creative.
lucky. Which is rare because you literally like could be in a situation like this, and you got to sit up in a random corner, and you won't have a lot of space. So usually, if you're done like that, then you say, "Oh, thank you so much," and you could maybe chit chat and be nice a little bit after that, and then you're done,
Yeah,
and
like
then that's it.
get your shot and out. And the beauty is a lot of those shots probably gonna be in one of these books.
Yeah,
Is that the one
that's
that's
in my
coming out?
portfolio book. Yeah. And then but it's funny because I was talking to someone, I forgot what it was, another colleague about that because I don't know. I have to say, like, I have two different modes. I have like the artistic mode,
Okay.
and like the getting things done mode,
Things
right?
done. Yeah.
And like I realized that when I was shooting the U.S. Women's National Team for Sports Illustrated,
Yes.
they were kind enough to give me 10 minutes with each athlete.
Okay.
So I had like my whole thing down that I got.
Yeah.
And then one of the players, Carly Lloyd, like I'll never forget that she like looked up my work and she said, "Wow, I really like your work."
Yes.
And then she gave me as much time as I needed. I think I had 30 minutes with her. But after like 10 minutes, like, right, I photographed her. I was like, oh, shit, I'm done. I was like, I have like nothing else to do. Like, cause I wasn't thinking of being, I was just thinking I got to get boom, 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 XYZ. I had those 10 minutes, like,
Yeah.
down to like a science.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't really thinking like, okay, I could creatively do this and do that. Where it's just like on the other flip side, when I do personal work, like with ballet dancers, I photographed some for like an entire day. Like the first ballet dancer I photographed, Christine Shevchenko, she's a principal at ABT.
Yes.
We shot for 12 hours the first day. But I was in creative mode with her, like, right? And I had the luxury of time to be with someone really talented.
Yes.
So like that's one thing I learned about myself on there. It's just like it's like really like, yes, I'm the same person, but like
You came in. I think that's focus, right?
mm-hmm.
That's being focused. You're like, these are my goals here. I gotta stay within the goals that I made for this day. And then now you're expected to like, hey, we usually in production, which is very interesting, in when we do corporate work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're doing some corporate work, you have to be. There's no room for creativity.
Yeah.
It's getting the work done, right? Like, so you have this structure that you're like, you already know if you propose, hey, what if we did this? It's like, no. So you usually say like, leave your creative hat at home, right?
Yeah.
Because this is not where it needs to be, or you'll waste a lot of time, or you'll have a back and forth that's gonna be unnecessary. So you're like, okay, what is this? Here we're targeted. We're here to get this job done. This is what we're supposed to do. Creativity, do that later.
Yeah.
Not because they also, and I think this is the same pressure that you're talking about is the expectation of you is this one thing that you're supposed to come in and leave. And if you achieve that goal, you've actually finished your project.
Yeah.
Right? They won't remember that you added extra sprinkles on top of that because that's like your thing. That's not theirs. Right.
Yeah.
But knowing those two modes is very important to survive in this industry.
Yeah. And I've been on both ends of that. And that even a long time when I used to shoot weddings, I remember like, you think you did an amazing job, but then the bride's not happy because she didn't get this one shot.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, but I got these amazing shots, but you didn't get this one shot. And I remember like one of the first projects I directed, I had the shot list that I wanted. I wanted like a master shot with a certain angle.
Yeah.
And then the main cinematographer like didn't get that shot. And I was like not happy. And thankfully, he had a second cinematographer there who kind of got what I wanted.
Okay.
And I'm like, he got it. But then I just remember thinking back to like the brides when they're like, oh man, like you got all these amazing shots, but you didn't get the one that they wanted.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, oh man. So it's like I've been on both sides of that, and I
That's
understand that. And it's just like, oh man, it's like so I could see now why a client wouldn't be happy or a bride or anything like that. Like you could think it's amazing, but if it's not what they want,
Exactly.
they didn't want it, then
and it's an interesting point of view because of course, like when as creators you look at this whole piece of work that you created and you're like, you have a lot of things here. that could work. But to them is that one thing that I wanted is not there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're blinded. You know what I mean? In terms of like just can't see the whole canvas as it is because that one thing is not on that canvas. It's missing. You know, so it's an interesting point of view. Like, you know, sometimes we think, and I think it's years of experience, right? Like you always make sure like at least you give them that. And then you give them the alternatives of all the other creative stuff that you have.
Yeah, that's
Right.
that's the goal. You know, if you could have the time to do more,
Exactly.
and then some.
Exactly. But start from there is because you can't ignore that because that's all they came. You know, it's like going to Starbucks expecting to get coffee, and then that time they don't have any coffee or anything. They're trying to sell you tea, but you came in like my mind is set on coffee.
Yeah.
You will, you know, walk to another coffee shop, but in this case they can't. So it's a tough kind of place. And some of the shots, you know, they're not super creative. You're like, I can up you one, but that's not what they're thinking.
Yeah, it's the difference between being an artist and a business person.
True.
And I say they're always in colliding with each other because it's like when so for example, I think like when you describe things that are good for business, I think they're the opposite to a creative. Like for example, like just doing the shot list. It's like that's managing expectations.
Yes.
That's you gotta rely and execute on what you know works.
Yes.
And you gotta do it repetitively. That's good on the business sense, like right in the business sense. That's called managing expectations. From a purely artistic standpoint, to me, that's called being lazy because you're relying and you're doing what you already know works.
Yes, that's true.
But like that's again like those are two different things, and you got to find a good balance. And I think sometimes we get hired sometimes to be a technician and just execute something, and other times you can get hired. Hopefully the dream client is you get hired for your vision and your creativity.
That's true.
And I always find out always comes with an asterisk when I've gotten hired like that. But it's just like
say more.
yeah. Let me go back to that. For what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. But for going back, like when people say, "Oh, they want to hire me for my vision," I have learned that I have to be careful when people say that to me, because okay, if you want to hire me for your vision, then okay, let me get to know your project or let me get to know you, and let me figure out a look that's unique to that.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, they don't want that. When they say I want to hire you for your vision, they want to hire me for something they already saw me do in the book, and they just want that projected onto them.
Okay.
So that's that. So yes, that's my vision and me as an artist, but it's me as an artist expressing my vision with that person.
That's
if
true.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then what I was gonna say that I forgot is like I remember one time I had a client and called me or it was via email, and they were telling me they wanted to hire me to do headshots.
Okay.
And they were telling me literally to a T, like, oh, we want you to use a 50mm lens, shoot it wide open. And I was like, but I need to bring lights. Sorry, I need to bring lights. And they were like, no, you don't need lights. You could just do it on camera flash, bounce it.
Oh no.
And then I was like, what about post production? Like, no, we don't need that. We just need the raw files. And I was like, I remember, and they were telling me you could use a 50mm lens and on camera flash. And I remember I almost emailed back. I was like, "Damn, you just want to tell me how to do the job? Why don't you just do it yourself?" But I didn't, right? I thankfully kept my mouth shut and didn't say anything. And I was like, "Okay, this is what you need." They're like, "Yeah, we need this headshot in this location." And I was like, "Okay." And then we'll pay you like X amount per person.
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, cool." So I went in there. I photographed like 12 people in like less than 25 minutes.
Okay.
And I delivered the raw files because I wanted, so there was like no editing.
Yeah.
And I remember looking back thinking like, thank God I didn't say anything, because I was like, that's the most money I've legally made in 30 minutes in my life. And then they emailed me back and they were like, oh my God, thank you so much, Alexis. You're the first photographer that ever listened to what we said. And then they hired me again like 5 times. And then so that's why the biggest lesson I learned is just like, sometimes you just got to do what the client wants, and like that's happy. Like seriously, like literally, because that was like, if you think about it, when a lot of photographers act like it's a sin when clients go, oh, we want the raw files. Yeah. And I'm like, if you're paying me money, like, right, there's a lot of stuff that I shoot that's not in my portfolio book.
Yeah.
And I was like, as long as you're paying me, like the money doesn't cure all, but it could cure a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then if you're paying me, and that's what you want, and in 30 minutes I could make that much. In 30 minutes, I could make almost what I used to charge for a whole wedding that I used to shoot for like 8 to 12 hours, right? Where I'm not bringing an assistant. I'm not bringing like literally they told me a camera, a 50 millimeter lens, and an on-camera flash and bounce it off the ceiling. Right? Like how easy that anybody could do that. Like it takes no skills, right? But I was the only photographer apparently and to that client that listened to what they said.
Yeah.
Because I remember when they told me they wanted those headshots, I was saying, oh, I could do this, bring my lights, my strobes, and backdrop and everything like that. And like that's a ton of work. That's me trying to be artistic and creative.
Yeah.
They knew what they wanted. And I gave them what they wanted, executed like a happy client and like a happy me. Because I was like, man, like again, so like if I had that as my only client, like, you know, that's an easy way to burn out because I'm not doing anything that excites me or creatively or even that I show on my website or portfolio.
Exactly.
But that keeps, you know, the business alive and the money flowing.
They ask for something.
Right. So like,
and
that's,
you know how to do it. You
yeah.
know?
Well, a lot of people know how to do it, but like, you know, it's like your ego could get in the way or you're
true.
like, oh, I want to do this. And
That's true.
like, for example, for that, like they didn't want that and then, me to do a bunch of other stuff. Because literally, still people that need headshots, so I just need them for like a minute. You know, pull them out of their office,
snap,
shoot it, boom.
snap.
Yeah, just make sure it's in focus. That's the only thing that's in focus and properly exposed, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, remember thinking like, man, I wish I had like 10 clients like this. And I was like, man, I could retire after like a year, like you know.
And that was your business side kicking in now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing. I one of the lessons I learned. I was like, thank God I kept my mouth shut, right, and like and doing all that. And I'm like, man, and it's just like, so that's a big lesson I've learned, you know, over all the times I've been doing this.
Learn when to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
No,
and just
but that's
give
true.
the client what they want. They know what they want, and just give it to them. And you know, and sometimes that's good enough. You know, and they'll hire you over and over again.
It is, yeah. No. You know, with all honesty, it's there, and they they also can't help themselves. You know what I mean? And I feel like us as creatives, we feel like we are consistently trying to show value as to why we are important, by sometimes overcomplicating or over-explaining to them, you know. And yes, we know better ways to do this, right? But that's a way that they were stuck on. And I usually have these conversations even with the team in terms of if anything went wrong in between that, you see, like for you did exactly what they wanted to the T, right? If you changed one thing or you decided, hey, let's do strobe, and then something didn't go right, that's all they'll remember.
Yeah.
Right? They'll even forget if all the other photos were good. It's just the fact that if they just bounced the light up, it would have worked instead of putting that strobe thing that they put. You know what I mean? Like, so there's more to that. But yeah, sometimes just listening in and leaving your creativity at home, getting the job done.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. I remember Greg Heisler, who's a legendary photographer. He shot like over 100 covers for Time magazine. And then I just remember thinking like he made a really great point on why you could not get hired again as a photographer when it comes to a magazine client. He's like, you could be the best photographer, you could be the most creative, you could make the talent happy, but there's a number of things along the lines that you could do that could possibly not get you to get hired again. Okay. It could be sending the invoice too late. Okay. It could be, you know, sending the images too late. It could be, you know, incredible. It could be you take too long to like write the expenses or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's a number of things, and I was just like, I never thought about that. And it's just like, yeah, look, if you don't do all the paperwork in time or send the invoice in time, you're making that job possibly harder for whoever hired you. And if another photographer that maybe is not as creative as you has that on point and they deliver the images, they're gonna be less of a pain point than you, and you're not gonna get hired than the other person is.
That's true.
You know, and then another thing that I remember from an editor that when I used to visit Sports Illustrated a lot, his name was George Washington. He's an amazing editor. He used to be at Sports Illustrated, and he would give me advice all the time. But he says something that really stood out to me, which is true. And he was like, when we're deciding what photographer to hire, we just don't look at the portfolio book.
Okay.
He goes, we look at the personality of the photographer.
True.
And the sample he gave me, you might have to bleep this out, but I'll say verbatim what he said. He's like, so for example, like, this is what I mean by that. It's like if I had to do a portrait, if I needed a portrait photographer to do a portrait of XY celebrity, And he said the person's name, and he's like,
Yeah.
but I know that guy's a fucking asshole. He's a jerk, right? He's like, I'm going to send a photographer that I know is a pit bull and is going to get it done.
Yes.
Right? I'm not going to send
match the energy.
Yeah, I'm not going to send a photographer that's like, soft-spoken or this and that and everything like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, we take all that into consideration when we decide on who to hire. So it's not just on your book, it's on your personality, on how you present yourself, on how you talk, on like, if you're not complaining, but if you're saying, oh, if you start making excuses, I couldn't do this because of that. Like, they don't want to hear excuses. They can't publish an excuse. So you got to just, and there's a lot of photographers that or do that, make excuses or say like, oh, I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that. It's just like, just don't make excuses for your work. Just get it done and show it. Like he said, like it shows, and you know people when you meet them, like you'll see who's a pit bull and who's not.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
and then that's what a lot of people could get like upset when when they see a photographer like, oh, that cover sucks, or that work sucks. I could have done better. Well, could you have done better? Like, right. Yeah, the photographer's lighting might not be on point and the greatest thing, but they could manage that huge, talent and the huge ego of that celebrity and be able to manage that and give the magazine or the client what they needed.
At least 1 or 2 shots to use, because that's all they're paying for.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point of view. Like, you'll never understand what it took to get to that shot. You judge it from that one shot that you saw. But yeah, you're like, some clients are hard, their personalities are difficult, right?
Yeah. What's the talent, not the client? Like, the client's the magazine.
Yeah,
the talent.
The talent that you're dealing with, right? And especially when you're dealing with like A-list celebrities and all that, it's like totally different kind of world.
Yeah, because I used to be that guy. Oh, that magazine cover sucks. I could have done better. After I shot my first cover for Sports Illustrated, I just keep my mouth shut now. I don't know say anything. Like, you don't know the situation they're in. You don't know how much time they had. You don't know anything. Like, that's another thing too that I had. Some photographers or young photographers, when they messaged me, and they're like, "Oh, can you critique, this image?" Well, like, I need more context. I'm like, okay, like, did the image that you made, like, did they sprung it on you like an hour before and you had to scramble together and get it done? Or was it something that was planned out 2 months in ahead and you had the time to pick the location, the lighting, and everything like that?
And control the environment.
I got to take that into consideration before I start like either praising the image or critiquing it to how it could be better.
That's true.
So like that's a lot of the context that you need when, if someone wants feedback on the work.
Yeah.
From a like educational standpoint.
I don't do weddings because of that.
For what?
It's too much pressure.
Oh, really?
Because photographers get fast hand. Like the wedding, the bride, they love photographers. But the video people, we're fly on the wall. But funny. We have to record the whole time.
Yeah.
It's not one moment that we're trying to get. We're getting a story and we have to stitch it together. I have friends in that world, and now it makes sense. Like, you got to charge your worth on those because the amount of work that you have to do to actually just get those shots. And at the beginning, it was more photo than video. Now I think there's a little bit of a blend of understanding the value of the video because now they want to show up on Instagram or whatever. So they actually want more video. But back then, where were you going to show your video?
Yeah, true.
On a VCR or DVD in your house?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It didn't have legs, so there was no value. They got it just because, and usually they got it because they wanted the speeches of the family talking.
Yeah.
That was like the key highlight. The rest of it was like, but they wanted to have everything too. So you're like right behind the photographer, running around with the camera and all that. It's like, man, it used to be work. So I was like, not for me.
Yeah, I remember it's hard. It's like hopefully you get in sync with the video people and the photo people.
Yeah,
and you can work together, but that's not always the case.
No, and like the ones who do it have teams and they figured out how to work together with photographers. But to each their own. I'm like, weddings, there's too much emotions in there.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, weddings is less about the quality of the work and more about like it's a highly emotional moment. And taking care of that, and like but I almost find that's almost a majority of the stuff that we do. It's managing the expectations. It's like not just with the wedding, but like even with corporate clients, with events.
That's true.
It's like you're better off delivering the images yesterday that are okay. Then everything's gonna be perfect, but it's gonna take a month to get it to you.
No,
right? Like the person who could just like give it to them like almost instantly.
Yeah,
they're gonna remember that and be like, okay, great, amazing. That's gonna be they'll be good enough. Unfortunately, like it's good enough with a fast turnaround time. Will be more impressive than like waiting the 2 weeks and then but you're gonna make sure everything is like
perfect.
Yeah, right. And it's like no. Unfortunately, no. It's like done is better than perfect.
I like what you say, the way you put it is like know when the creativity and the projects that you'll put in that time and create, the body of work. And not every one of them is going to be a body of work piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But also knowing the difference of when to engage on that, of like, okay, this is good. And a lot of the stuff is happy accidents too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like things you're like, we can plan as much as we can, but it's like sometimes you go to a place the least expected, but I need to get that shot. And you're like, the light is like just right where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I like to call that like true art. Like to me, I wrote down finally after like 20 years like what my definition of art is, and to me art is when interpretation meets sincerity, and I mean your sincerity, right? And that's kind of almost almost an oxymoron, interpretation and sincerity.
Yes.
But it's your point of view, your perspective. I like to say, if I get to be an artist, when I could express myself how I want to, that I'm a mirror, right? Because I'm reflecting back, my point of view, and when I could be my true self without any compromise, I am a broken mirror. And what I mean by that is that like all my flaws, usually as a person, I think whatever your flaws are, you think you have, your quirks, I think that's usually what makes you unique, what makes your work who you are. And when someone sees my work and they say, "Oh, I know it's yours," without even seeing the credit on it, it's like I was allowed to be myself. And then generally, when you have like a client or a corporate client or ad, they want you to cover up your flaws because they want it to look a certain way, which is fine. But like that to me is like the true definition of like art. And I think the sincerity part, oftentimes, from my experience, comes when mistakes or accidents happen on set, like because it's unexpected. And when it's unexpected, that's when your true colors come out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
like Mike Tyson said, like everyone has a game plan until you get punched in the face.
That's true.
So when the mistake comes out, like, right, you can't when something like that happens, like you can't be insincere. Your true self comes out. And then that's when, like you either make something amazing or you don't.
That's true.
And a lot of times like that, when I like something, like I've had situations where like I planned everything to the T, and I know, for me in general, I know that if I have something in my mind, an image with whoever I'm working with, and I know that if I execute exactly what I had in my mind, and that's all I do that day, that I had a mediocre day shooting.
Okay.
Usually something unexpected happens the day of, anything like a mistake or like light ray coming through, or something unexpected, and that's usually the work that ends up in my portfolio that I really like. I would say most of the time, like that.
Because it's a beautiful thing. Like I still believe in like the preparation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then leaving room for anything else that happens. At least there's room for that, right? Like you can account for it and not panic or not lose track, right?
Yeah.
Because you already know this is a structure, this is my layout for the day, and then you have a little bit of play, right? If this happens, cool. We'll keep going with the energy and the vibe, right? Because we can plan even shoots, right? But the things that usually you get there and you're like, okay, wait, this space is no longer available. You have to be in this place, but in your mind you had built your whole set in this space, right? How fast can you be able to draw that and also reset and see the visually how well you can curate this new space? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that open mind, or just knowing, okay, I'm prepared, and then you have that little room of open-mindedness of, if it changes, we'll get it.
You have to be flexible, and you have to know your game plan.
Yes.
But you can't be tied down to a game plan where you're not rigid,
Yeah, that's true.
Where you're too rigid, I should say. And then you have to learn to be flexible. And hopefully it happens the way you say, you get your plan and you have room for creativity.
Yeah.
But other times it could be something where like you need a clear day outside on location and it could be raining that day. That could be, a blessing. You know what I mean? It'll definitely look like a curse at first because you'll be like, oh, damn, it's not what I expected. But you never know when stuff like that happens, and like I think that's usually when the magic happens. You hope. So you have a good team and good people around you where you could make it happen.
That's true. What's your and I'm getting on the creative side of things, right? Mm-hmm. Like I've seen you've done sports. Now you're doing more ballet music, right?
Yeah, ballet, more ballet.
More ballet, 100%. How do you see yourself now? as an artist? Is there a reason why you're in this space of ballet? What triggered that?
Yeah, because it's so the first ballet dancer I photographed was Christine Shevchenko,
Mm-hmm.
and I came across her because her husband saw a behind the scenes video I did for a Sports Illustrated cover shoot, and he's a photographer too, and then he just reached out to me on social media and he was like, "Oh, you should work with Christine because she's a great dancer." And I looked her up and I was like, "Oh, damn, she's like incredible." And the reason I got into photographing ballet is because I've worked with athletes before. I've worked with actors before, and they're incredible. Athletes are in an amazing shape, and I work with athletes a certain way. And actors are incredible. They take direction really well,
Yes, yes.
but they're not as athletic as athletes.
Mm-hmm.
With ballet dancers, I feel it's the perfect mix of everything. They are extremely athletic,
Okay.
but not an athlete in the traditional sense. They take direction extremely well, like an actor, but not an actor in the traditional sense. And they're also extremely well spoken too. All the ballerinas I worked with. So I find it's a really rare mixture where you get the best of both worlds. You get someone that takes direction extremely well, and is also extremely athletic, and so it lends, I think, to like a perfect marriage of like photography and or directing, and you don't get
Where
that
do you
with
see?
them.
Why do you when you say they take direction really well? Is that based on the craft, or what does that training come from? Or where does it come
I
from?
believe that because ballet is really I don't want to say strict, but ballet is a definitely a disciplined art, and there's a correct way to do it.
Yeah.
And I worked with usually company dancers that are like a major company like
Yes.
ABT or SF Ballet. So in order to get that, like you're already working with like the top like 1% of dancers that make it to that level. And they take direction really well because they got to take the direction for the choreographers and everything like that, and it has to be done a certain way. And they just they work it to that technique's almost to perfection.
Yeah.
So they don't good enough for them is not good enough. It has to be perfect.
Yeah.
So they take that direction really well. They take feedback really well, and like I said, they're extremely athletic. So it's like I just find, and then also what I absolutely love that I find when working with dancers is like I love getting their feedback and asking them what they think, and they could actually give you something articulate and useful back.
True.
Like so working with a ballet dancer to me is different than working with an athlete, because when I work with an athlete's like a highly refined, how should I say this, like a highly refined like soldier or like or like weapon. What I mean by that is like you got to tell them what to do and they could execute it like that.
Yes.
But you have to tell them what to do. So
Yes.
for example, like when I work with athletes, I never tell them, okay, this is the shot that we're gonna do. What do you want to do? Because you're gonna be in the dead, like in just like
instructions.
they're gonna be, what do you want me to do? Well, like what can you do? I could do whatever you want me to do.
Yeah.
Like that, and you nothing. So like when I work with athletes, like you can't get a feedback like that from them. So when I work with an athlete, I give them a scenario, like right, like if I worked with the boxer, I tell him, okay, like if I want to get something out of him, I'll be like, all right, let's pretend you were, it's a 12-round fight, you're the 8th round, he's knocked you down 3 times before. All right, so now it's the 8th round now. You were able to hit him and you stung him really well. And you see you have the opportunity to finish him off. What combination would you do to finish him off? Right? You put them in that scenario and they'll execute it, or they'll tell you exactly what they want to do, and then you see it, and then now you could photograph it. Right?
Okay.
Or get an idea from him, be like, okay, that's great, you could do this and do that.
Yeah.
You have to put them in a scenario. That's what my experience with all athletes, with boxers, football players.
Sense. It does make sense.
Or anything like that. You have to, for me, I put them in a scenario and that works really well. With a ballet dancer, it's more with the exception of one. Generally, like when I work with them, like I will shoot. I'll show them the frame and we'll show them the lighting, and I'll say, okay, this is how it's gonna look. Okay, what pose can you do that will work well with this composition, right? And then they could come up with it. Okay, this is the pose. Okay, let me photograph it. Okay, cool. Let me finesse the lighting. Okay, that's how it looks, and then we go back and forth, and then we create the image together.
That's a beautiful way to work, actually, because they also know which positions they can position themselves, and they're looking. Again, they're perfectionists, so they're looking at structure and how straight or whatever they're doing, all the little fine details, because that's what they thrive from, that level of perfection, which actually is, I think ballet is each frame, if you think about it, right? like to be the best is like that one frame or one posture that you do and you're able to hold it or whatever that is, linear or whatever that is. It's like there's, I think, a lot of detail work to how they see themselves.
Yeah, so the reason that's why I got 12 was with Christine, because when I told you the first shoot I did with her was 12 hours. That's the first time I ever worked in my career that I ever had worked with somebody that was on the top of their craft,
Yes.
that was equally dedicated to making the best quality images I was.
Uh,
Right? Because when you work with an athlete, you get 10 minutes. They'll shoot a boom.
They're
Okay,
good.
that's good enough. You're good,
Yeah,
and they'll
yeah.
leave.
Could have been a good headshot
Right?
and they'd be fine.
Yeah. It's it's just like they photograph so much. It's just like, okay, and it's done.
Yeah.
And then when I worked with her, it was just like, okay, cool. Let's like perfect this. Like we worked. I remember on the shoot. Now I don't know if I would do this now, but like with her, we worked almost for an hour to get one image. You know, it was just shooting, and then she's like, "Oh no, this is between my
Shoulder,
arm and my
yeah,
hair is too short. Like, let's shoot it." We shot for almost an hour for one image, and we got it done. And then so it's that, like, you don't really get that with athletes for the most part,
But do you also think that they get judged by that one frame or how their posture was in that one frame?
The athletes?
As a ballet.
Oh, but
The
like, yeah,
athlete does not
100%,
care.
yeah.
They, the athlete is like, I'm hooping. This is not going to be any part of my character is not linked to this one moment.
Yeah.
Compared to a ballet artist, it's like my leg wasn't like where it needed to be. So my peers are going to be seeing this in a way.
That's another thing too, that why I like photographing and working with ballet so much, is because it's like, you are an athlete, but what still drives, like in any sport, like in boxing and football, like right, you win a Super Bowl, you get a ring and you declare the champion.
Yes.
In boxing, you get your hand raised and they put a belt around you, like you're the champion, like, right?
Exactly.
And you have these things, and then you're allowed, to celebrate, and you see grown men acting like children, celebrating, jumping on top of like throwing champagne and everything like that.
Yes.
Literally celebrating like children, right? Because
Yes.
you reach that status that says you won, you're the best.
Yes.
Right? And in ballet, there's none of that. Like, right, there's no championship to win. There's no belt to win. There's no nothing. Like, you reach the highest rank, which is principal.
Yes.
And the person you're up against is ultimately yourself, and knowing how well you perform and knowing that you could have done better.
Yes.
And doing that. So, like, that's another thing that intrigues me about that. It's like you don't have, like, the Super Bowl, the World Series, or anything like that to tell you, okay, you won this, won 5, 6, 7 times. You're the GOAT. You're essentially competing with yourself. And it is the ultimate, like, most difficult thing ever, because it's like when you have a high standard, it's definitely you're going against yourself. So it's almost a never ending pursuit to perfection.
Wow, that's amazing. How do you've structured yourself well? You have a book, you have a magazine that we have now with us. How do you look at those as a portfolio piece? Or how would you, like people getting into photography or someone navigating through this, right? You have books, magazines, website, social. Like, is there any structure that you have or any strategy that you have for that?
Well, the magazine I just started, I did that last year. And then my biggest thing is, it's like I put an insane amount of effort and work into the photo shoots I do with the ballet dancers I work with. And I want them to live somewhere outside of social media.
Okay.
Somewhere outside of the digital realm. So that's
Okay.
why I started making the print magazine.
Got it.
And the structure I'm trying to make is to make a magazine for each dancer that I work with. And that's not to say that's a lot, because I don't work with a lot of dancers. I'm very selective on who I work with. It has to be the right match.
Mm-hmm.
Because when working with ballet dancers, it's like, a lot of them could be used to doing just like a 45-minute shoot or like an hour shoot. And that doesn't work for me. Like I'm up front now and I tell them, okay, if we're going to work now, the first shoot I need you for at least 8 to 10 hours.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work for you, which I understand you're extremely busy,
it doesn't
like
work.
then we don't need to do it. Because I was like, because I try to be upfront and tell them, like, could I do a photo shoot with a dancer in 45 minutes? Absolutely. But like, if I only have 45 minutes to work with somebody, that means I have to do what I already know works. So I have to do what I've done before. So that's not going to help me grow personally as an artist. And a lot of the times it's a personal shoot I'm doing with them. So we're just doing it on our own. So if I'm not getting paid money and I'm not growing artistically, I'm not getting anything out of it. Now, will the dancer get amazing images out of it? They're gonna love it. But I was like, I've done that before. Like it's no big deal for me right now. But if you wanted to pay me, I'll get it done in 20 minutes if you want to pay me because I know what I'm doing. I'm damn good at what I do.
I'll give you some awesome shots
in 20 minutes and doing that. But that's not the goal for that. The goal for those is to push myself creatively and artistically. So I always start the photo shoots with a new dancer with an interview, and the interview could go anywhere from 45 to 90 minutes
on the same day of the 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I start with that, and then based on everything they say,
yeah,
and what they say is what I base the creative on. And the images on it, and I base the creativity off of that, of their backstory of what what they say, and what depending on what they share.
Is there a pre-interview to this?
Yes, I meet them in person first. So now I learned that the hard way because I tried doing it over FaceTime.
Yeah.
And I find FaceTime you think is more efficient, but it ends up not being efficient because it doesn't take much effort for someone to just like FaceTime you for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But it takes more effort. You learn more from a person when you set up a meeting to meet for coffee and just looking at them, seeing how they like being spoken to, seeing how they talk back to you, seeing how you interact with them, seeing you could learn a lot from just that alone. You could learn if they're on time, right? If they're going to be early, if they're going to be late.
True.
You could even do, I'm not saying that you should sabotage the meeting or anything like that, but you could see if you really want to test it, like how on the money or on the ball that person is. So for example, you could say, okay, cool, let's meet at this place at 11 for lunch, right? And then you could pick a place that you know is closed at 11 o'clock, right? And then you could see if the person is on it, they'll tell you the day of or the day before, like, hey, I checked that place already. It's going to be closed. Should we meet at another place? Then okay, that person's on it. They check where the meeting's at before they go to it. Versus someone that wouldn't check that at all. You know what I mean? It's like, if you want to do that, I'm not saying you recommend it, but like it's something like that,
Yeah.
And then you learn a lot, like, right? If they're on time, if they're late, how they show up.
All right. Next time you tell me, I will make sure I check.
Yeah, right. Check it.
If I'm meeting Alexis, I'm like, I gotta check, man.
Yeah. No, but like you learn a lot from that. You learn, are they coming in like flustered? Are they coming in late? Are they rushed? Are they well put together or not? And you learn all that stuff like that. And even then, being with that, like a dancer that I work with a lot, Sasha DeSolo, she's a principal. She's the dancer I've worked with the longest. Like she's inspired me to just better myself and even dress better. Like if you look at a lot of ballet dancers, they dress like fashion models.
They do.
Like even the shoot I did with Sasha, like she came in like before she changed to her tutu, like dressed like a fashion model. I was like, oh my God. And like I see her so much, like that inspires me to like want to up myself.
Yes.
And it's just like you want to be around people that just like elevate you and lift you up, and like that I think matters. A lot of people don't think about that, but like you do get judged by how you look, by how you're dressed,
That's true. That's true.
And like one person that I really admired that I got inspired from is Tom Ford.
Okay.
And Tom Ford, a lot of people know him as a fashion guy, which has been very successful. But he's also a photographer and he's also a movie director.
Okay.
He's directed like I think one at least major film, if not two. He's also a photographer too. And then I love his philosophy on why you should dress nice, which is, I'm paraphrasing here, look it up. But what he basically said is just like when you look, like if you travel to Europe, to like Italy or France, and you walk in like those beautiful like buildings, like Renaissance buildings, like, right, and you see how beautiful, like how much detail they put on like on everything, on the on the when you walk in on the structure and like how it makes an impact.
Yes.
He goes, that's the same exact thing experience you could give someone when they see you, with how you're dressed, with how you carry yourself. You know what I mean? Because you like going into that building, you like going into those beautiful structures. It leaves you in awe.
Yes.
Because how well it was put together. And then his philosophy is like you could do the same thing too when someone meets you, right? The way you put together your shoes and like how your whole ensemble is. And I was like, you know what? That makes sense. I'm like that. I really like that approach.
Yeah.
That's one thing I got that I heard him say that I absolutely love.
You're the sharpest looking photographer. All this, you dressed up.
I tried, man. Yeah,
like, man.
I did it.
Everywhere. It's like you come to the events of the Vine and you're like all sharp.
But
I'm like,
that's
this
also
is amazing.
something. Thank you, man. That's something also though I learned from experience too, because a few years ago, 2 years ago, I worked with a ballet dancer. Her name is Mathilde, and I photographed her 6 final weeks in San Francisco before she moved back to France.
Yes.
And then I remember she gave me full access to everything. I photographed her and I documented her with her son. She was a single mom. And I remember thinking it was incredible. I was able to creatively do whatever I wanted with like the most amazing talent, right? And I remember I was working around the clock. I cleared my schedule and I worked with her, as much as I could. And I remember like when I got done with that, like I felt like trash because I was like, dude, I think I gained like 15 pounds because I was like so focused on the work that I was just eating like there's a shout out to Papitos in San Francisco. I was eating like their burritos there like every day, and I was just eating what's convenient without thinking about it,
Yes,
right? Because
yes,
I was like so into the work.
Yeah.
I was just like scarfing down whatever. But I remember like when I was done with that, I'm like I think I gained like 15 pounds and it's like in 6 weeks, and I remember thinking like, okay, everything about that was an absolute dream work wise, like
True.
right, the work was beautiful in there, but I was like I looked at myself and I was like I feel horrible. And I was just like, wow, like that was a dream that I wish I could sustain forever, but I was like, I wouldn't be able to sustain it forever because I wasn't taking care of myself.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So after that, I realized I was like, man, I want to do this for as long as I can because I love doing this.
Yes.
And I was like, if I want to be serious about doing that, I need to take care of myself first, and be in shape. So I just went back in shape and I trimmed down to 140 pounds. I lost 30 pounds. And then when I did that, I had to buy all new clothes. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to buy new clothes, I'm going to make sure that it's nice and it's tailored.
It works, yeah.
And then that it's a twofold thing. And it's like, so I dress nice now, but now I can't afford to get fat. Because I was like, I have to throw away all my old clothes, right? And I was like, this clothes is like really tight and tailored. So, but that's one thing that I did learn from that project. Because I was like, because I remember I was working, with another dancer, and I just like I couldn't get access to everything she did. And I remember thinking like, man, if only I had access to somebody like like the ballerina, like an athlete, like be able to photograph her 24/7 and everything she does, and then she came along out of nowhere, and I felt like that was like a blessing from God, and I was like basically I felt like if God exists, that was Him telling me to shut the hell up and do the work, right? What you've been saying, and I was able to do it, and then I was extremely happy with that work, but like again, like I ended up like. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what work you do or wherever you travel, you're always going to be with yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so that's the biggest thing I learned on that. I was like, okay, cool. I need to take care of myself, make sure that I, eat right, eat well. I'm 42 and I want to do this as long as I can. And that's a big thing that not a lot of people like think about. I don't want to be that extremely out of shape photographer working with athletes or dancers.
Yes.
I want to be able to take care of myself and do this as long as I can.
No, that's a very good. I love that you're so good to that, because the reason why the show is actually called Balancing, or the podcast called Balancing Acts, is it's exactly that, right? Like you can focus on the work and keep going and keep going. Like even in your case, you felt fulfilled one way, right? But something else was lacking. I'm gonna ask more into that. Like, okay, so there's the diet. What else? What keeps Alexis sane or balanced, day to day? Is there a routine? Are there things that you've added, yoga or anything that you've added that help you stay grounded?
Well, stay grounded is just like I when you mess up a lot, right? Because it's like I have I don't know if people believe in horoscope, but I'm a Leo, so I like to think I have a pretty healthy self-esteem and ego. But like just messing up keeps me humble, And I don't know. I always feel like for me, and I've always felt this way, but I always felt like I am like one step away from like being super successful, or like another just one step away from like having nothing.
Yeah.
And like that just always kind of keeps me on the edge and grateful, because I've been doing this so long that I know that 1 week, like, when I photograph boxing, I photograph for a promoter, and I was the main man and I had full access to everything in the ring and all that.
Yeah.
And then like the next week, it's like the promoter is gone and then it's like, cool, I can't even get a credential to a fight. Right. And it's just like, man, so it's just like, okay, take the highs, take everything, with grace, and the biggest thing is just like to not, when things don't work out and things, go bad, is to not, to show yourself grace. To not beat yourself up. Don't talk to yourself like talk to yourself with respect. Like, you know what I mean? Don't some people have the self-talk, and the self-talk, the way they talk to themselves, you would never talk to another human like that.
It's true.
You know? So
True.
I think that's something I'm very conscious about and aware about.
Yes.
And like I'm very aware with like the words that I use. They're very important.
Yes.
And so like that's one thing that I try to do if you mess up. It's just like not not think it's the end of the world. Like I think as long as you keep going and you don't give up,
Yes.
like that's the biggest thing. As long as you have a heart that's beating, like I'll say I'll never quit,
That's true.
and doing that. And the biggest thing I would say is like when you mess up or things don't work, is give yourself grace. Like, don't beat yourself up. That's the biggest thing that, you got to be aware of, that your self-talk. Like you say, say talk is cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It's cheap except when that conversation is within yourself. That conversation is expensive because whatever you tell yourself, you'll believe. And the biggest thing in looking in psychology and all that is just like one of the biggest reasons I think I've had some success is to the point where like I'm almost delusional.
Okay.
Because whatever you keep telling your mind just starts to believe it. It doesn't need any evidence. So if you keep telling yourself like, God, I'm so stupid. God, I suck. Like your mind's going to believe that,
True.
versus just like, telling yourself, oh, like, like I could do this. I'm going to get this done regardless. One way or another, I'll figure it out. And then backing that up with action, right? And then that gives you more momentum and doing that. But the biggest thing that I learned from, being able to, having the discipline to lean down to 140 pounds and lose, it took me 28 weeks to lose 30 pounds. That's the first time I was able to do it. And it's just having the discipline.
Okay.
And the discipline is having, setting yourself up for success.
Yes.
So the way I was able to do that is to literally like, it's not magic, it's discipline and consistency, which applies to anything like photography or cinematography where you're learning. It's just like doing the same thing over and over again until you master and you perfect it. True. And setting yourself up for success for the nutrition. Like I literally go and I go to Safeway and I always get a look from the butcher because I buy 11 pounds of chicken breast.
Okay.
Right. And then I season it all. I cook it and then I separate it in 300-gram containers.
Okay.
Which is about 12 of them. Then I freeze it. So now I have my protein for dinner or lunch for 12 days.
Okay.
And then I do the same thing with my other meal. Right. I'll go to Costco, buy a 10-pound of ground beef, 90-10,
Okay. Uh-huh.
cook it all, and then put it in 8-ounce containers.
Okay.
So now like I'm setting myself up for success.
Okay.
Because right now, like, cause when you have to think about, what do I got to eat? There's nothing to eat, right? You're more tempted to like, let me just go like in and out, or let me go somewhere, or let me go and doing all that. Like if you have that set up, you're good to go.
True.
And that applies to everything. Like even the way like you dress, like people, I don't have time to dress nice. That's just a bunch of excuses. It's like dressing nice is not hard. Like literally like now I bought all the new clothes. You got the colors that I need, the pants, the shoes, and the blazers. And it's like now, okay, I'm gonna do this. It's just like even for this, like I thought, okay, what I could wear tan with a dark blazer and then the red loafers, and you're just good, like right?
Yeah.
And like it's like so easy once once you have it all set up.
Yes.
And you have that system in place, and that to a certain extent works, for the creativity too, or the business too. That applies to all like your disciplines of your career and your life.
True. Time saving too. Right.
Yeah, that time saving too. Yeah, I heard on a podcast that like Barack Obama bought like 18 like black suits.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he didn't want to think about what to wear, so he just wore the same thing all the time. If that's your prerogative too, you could do that too. Like right, I like a variety. So I have clothes that I could mix and match, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to do it on it. Like right, and just the only effort that it took is like now. It's like I know my measurements now, so I know the measurements for the blazer and the pants or whatever I want to get and get it tailored, and just that little like step, like people, you dress so nice. So it's just like I didn't have to think about it, because I just set myself up like that.
It's an interesting point of view because when we think about brain fatigue or because that's why fasting in the morning. You make the hardest decisions or you do the hardest tasks because you're still fresh and you still have the capacity to do that. But towards the end of the day, you're more exhausted, less decision making or more procrastination comes into that. Yeah. But that fast decision of spending 1 hour, 30 minutes or whatever people spend trying to figure out what they're going to wear, that is your fast energy taker. Yeah. Right. So that takes part of the brain capacity that you already have. Right. And then your next decision, because that's the first decision that you made. But if you've automated that system, or you already don't have to think about it, and if you know you're complicated, you can put those clothes out in the evening, right? My system is uniform, right? I wear the same shirt.
Yeah.
My Monday through Friday, and you probably can see me on Saturday, it will be the same, right? But that's because I do know what I'm wearing during the week, right? I'm wearing the same shirts. I have a whole bunch of this.
Yeah.
They're gonna be the same ones. Like, you wouldn't see me. That's why you'll always see me in branded clothes.
Yeah.
That's all I wear, right? So I don't have to think about it. It's not anything that I have to focus on. It's like, and then if I feel fancy, maybe I'll, the pants are the ones that I'll be probably changing. But all those are like put out. But that fast process of trying to figure out, because I remember like back in the day, I had like shirts, all these things. I wanted to look sharp. But in the morning, you're staring at this thing and trying to figure out, what am I wearing today? That should not be the question.
Yeah.
It should be like, I'm out, I'm moving. Like, you don't even think about that as part of your fast process of thought.
Yeah.
It's already pre-done, But yeah, it's an interesting approach, right, of how we look at our routines. It sounds like you have a pretty precise one, including the diet one.
I'm trying to, for the diet. I mean, like, if you think about it, like, man, like how privileged we are. Like, I am so privileged that I have to weigh my food so I don't get fat. Like, right, man? Like, that's such a blessing if you don't.
Man,
you
know the
like,
quantity, right? And everything, man.
Yeah, you have to do that. And then it's just like, but like, when I lean down that way, and it's just like, to lean down that much, I have to be really strict, like doing everything like that. Now, like, I'm a little bit more flexible, and I'm okay where I'm at right now. I mean, I could still, like, right now, if I wanted to lean down the way I wanted, lose 15 pounds, but I'm okay where I'm at now.
You're 140. You want to lose 15 out of that?
No. I'm 155 now.
Okay,
so, like,
so you can come back.
Yeah,
okay,
so I came back a little bit. But I want to go back. I really like how I look at 140, and I like that. And it just takes a discipline, but it's just finding that good balance in there, which is like, before I was 167, almost 170. Right. And then, like, I like a lot, like, that's the big difference, when I lost the 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's just finding that balance for everything. And, like,
are you complementing it with anything else, like gym, workout?
Yeah, you have to lift weights, otherwise you lose all the muscle. And then I try to walk at least an hour a day.
Okay.
If not, like, I learned that consistency is better than, like, trying to, like, running, kill yourself running. It's better to walk an hour or 2 hours a day, and getting your cardio that way. And, like, it's less harder on the joints and everything like that. And then also, like, it's easier to lose weight because, the running, depending on who you are as a person, it takes a lot out of you. And then the thing is, like, when you run, you don't burn as many calories as you think. Like, you could burn 500 calories, but you could eat 500 calories so easy and fast. You could eat that, like, in the 2 minutes. Yeah. And the thing is, like, when you run, you exhaust yourself a little bit, and then you feel like, oh, I did all this work. Let me reward myself, because I did that. And then you end up overeating.
Yeah.
When you walk, you don't have that.
That's true.
Because you're not exhausting yourself as much. So it ends up, in the long run, no pun intended, like, it ends up being better, walking walking with the weight vest too is what I did before.
Oh, wow. You mentioned something about the ups and downs, especially I think your case was with the promoters or whatever.
Yeah. Correct.
How do you find the ups and the downs, right? There's like, okay, you have a season that's perfect, and then the next season is just quiet. What ways have you found to cope through those two levels?
Keep doing personal work as much as you can. Like, you have to, the way I look at it is like, being a creative, to me at least, is like being a hamster in a little wheel.
Okay.
And you're trying to, like, make that wheel, like, spin the world in another way. So it's like, you have to keep that wheel spinning. So when, like, you have no work or anything like that, you have to call people and start doing test shoots, start working, creating stuff, right? Because you have to always be doing something, even if it's for yourself. Because at the end of the day, nobody, like a restaurant, right? Nobody wants to go to a restaurant that's empty.
That's true.
Right? Everybody wants to go to a restaurant that's popping, that has a long line.
Yes.
And if you're just sitting there sulking in yourself, like, oh, no one's hiring me, or I'm looking for work, that's not going to give out a good, look, or no one's going to work. No. But on the contrary, if you start doing your own projects, your own anything, whatever you're doing, and you're putting that out, and you're saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that next, right? It's going to just give off that that vibe that people want to be around.
That's true. That's true. And I think excuse me, that's experimenting too.
Yeah.
Right. You're getting better at your craft,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have the pressure of the delivery of the red tape of
Yeah.
you answer to you,
Yeah.
not to someone else, and you have the freedom to create the way you want to create. And at some point, that might be what someone else is like, like what you're saying before, and they're like, they want that, that you had time to create and do that. But the advantage that you have, what they pick out of that menu, you've done it and you know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, okay, for me to build, and even for us internally on video, we do our own personal projects or like in-house projects that we do. But the thought process is now we have an understanding. If you ask us to create this for you, we know what it would take to create it for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of us trying to figure out how to create it for you when you asked for it. But now we have time.
Yeah, because the danger in that is underbidding.
Exactly.
And I've done that before, and it sucks.
Get caught in there. You're like, oh, I didn't see this one. You only saw one line that you're used to doing, and you treated it. You moved what you're used to doing into this other type of project. And sometimes they know what it takes, and they're like, oh, you can do it for that price? Okay, let's see you do it.
Yeah.
But you get in there, you're like, I didn't see all these pieces, But if you've done it and experimented it before, you're like, yeah, I can tell you. This is going to pop up here. We don't see it because we are seeing it linear, but there are other angles that are going to come at you on the day or during post or, just in between because they will ask for it, right?
Yeah.
They've not asked for it right now, but they will see something is missing and they're like, wait, what if we... You're like, yep, I anticipated you're going to ask for this. So it's right here. I can give it to you, but this is what that looks like. So it prepares us for better conversations, but I like your take of the hamster wheel. So that's really...
It's like, you have nobody... I mean, like, if you look at all my work and you look at everything I've done, nobody told me, like, go out and learn lighting. Nobody told me, like, light it this way. Nobody told me, like, bring 6 lights, to a shoot and do it like that. That was all, like, self-driven. That was all me generating that and doing that. And people notice that. Like, I remember, like, being recommended, to a boxing promoter because somebody said, like, wow, like, I see, like, you're the only photographer that brings lights. I see how hard you work and, I see how much you love this.
Yeah.
Right? And ultimately, like people notice that, and
that's true.
Like, you never know who's watching for good or bad. So make sure you try to always, like, be your best, So it's just like, you never know who's watching, and like all that works. One of the things that I try to do is just like be aligned with everything. It's just like I spend so much time on making sure the presentation is well for like the work, how you present it, how it looks, and then so I try to bring that to like myself, how I present myself.
Yes.
And that actually helped me out. I had a client, I kid you not, just hire me because I was dressed nice. They stopped me in San Francisco. Because I was dressed nice, and then I ended up getting hired. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll take that,
No, but the presentation, because if you're dressed this way, that means your presentation work should match what you're presenting.
So that's great. So like that, whether people like it or not, like right, that's true. You're gonna get judged by how you look, and how you're dressed, and I need all the help I could get. You know what I mean? So
we get judged the minute you walk into a room. So
yeah,
you know what I mean. But you're getting into video. I'm gonna go into your video side of things.
Yeah,
right. Because you're doing also content on the video side, or expanding the story, documentary, or how would you classify?
Well, I need to do that more.
Right
I like directing short narratives. And then for like personal work, but then also for self promotion. Like I said, like I started working with ballet dancers because somebody saw behind the scenes YouTube video that I did. And then so that's also like video creation too, like showing your process and doing that. And I stopped doing that. I need to be more consistent in doing that. Like on every shoot that I do, filming behind the scenes and explaining my process.
Yes.
That's one aspect of the video, And then the other aspect is just doing a whole like short film or documentary, which is something that I love doing because I just feel like with photography, it's like you could do so much, but with cinematography and storytelling, there's like so many more opportunities that are open that you can't do with a still image.
That's true. That is true.
I love that. Yeah, because you have the sound, you have music, you have sound design, you have like they say cinematography. It's takes inspiration from the 7 muses. Writing, architecture, and all the other ones. And it's like that opens up like so many possibilities of what you could do and how you could evoke emotion and so on.
That's true. That's true. I don't know. We always geek out on the Fuji film world.
Yeah.
You're a Fuji ambassador?
No, I have a relationship with them, but I'm not officially an ambassador with them. It's kind of been my
That's like your portfolio is probably majority Fuji, or
yeah. I started shooting a lot of Fuji for some personal work. I shoot a lot of film though too. So I shoot 35, 4x5, 8x10, like all of it, 120. But like lately, I just like for like the consistency and like the dancer I work with 6 weeks.
yes,
It was like such a like an insane amount of work and everything like that. I'm thankful I kept it all digital because it was like I had to shoot and then just like finish everything, and I gave myself a deadline for that. That it's just like I removed the elements of film, which is like developing and scanning, and then spot cleaning, all
yeah.
that.
Are you developing at your place, or you go somewhere?
Yeah, depends on, but yeah, I was developing myself and then scanning it myself, which is a lot of extra steps.
Yes.
So that's why I just kept it, digital. And the GFX 100, I love the files from that camera, 100 megapixels and like 16-bit, and it's like I love it. It's like the best camera for what I do.
I'm a big fan. Which that's why we were talking, because I need to finish my Safari book, but I took it on Safari, and the
okay.
image is amazing. The amount that I can actually be able to get in tighter and get reframe and do whatever I need to. I think so I got it because I used to be on the 50R,
Yeah.
but the speed, it's a little bit slower on focus finding and all that, right? Like so the 100 is actually a huge upgrade on that. And then with just good lenses, but the sensor size, it's hard to go backwards.
Yeah.
It's like
I used to hate the sensor size because it's not really a 645, and it's a little bit bigger than that.
Yes.
But I learned to love it because I find it's like a good like halfway balance.
Yes.
Because I use a lot of vintage lenses that are 35 millimeter on the GFX, and the vintage lenses just cover that sensor enough. Right, because it's not a true 645.
Yes.
So you get all the flaws and all the characters, which is beautiful. And then I have a speed booster, which is a focal reducer, so I could use Hasselblad lenses on it, and it makes it like a perfect 645 lens.
Okay.
So
okay.
I find it's like a good balance. Nice, yeah.
Find a mixed bag of putting things together.
Because it's like if you shot with the Hasselblad, the H system,
yes,
which has a full 645 sensor. Like you couldn't use those vintage lenses on it because it would just be like you would see gigantic vignetting on it.
Yes.
And plus it's not mirrorless, so you wouldn't be able to do all the preview.
That's true.
Like you can. And then so like I learned to love that sensor. I remember I used to hate it. I'm like, it's 44 centimeters by 44 by 33 millimeters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not 645, but like now I learned to love it because it's just like you could use those vintage lenses on it, and you could use a focal reducer on those lenses, and you get the best of both worlds.
That's it. I've not experimented to do that. I'm on the Fuji line of lenses right now.
Yeah, those are nice, pretty clinical lenses, which are beautiful, nice, clean and sharp. Yeah,
and they have so many formats in there. Like even just playing with the image, you can push that image so much.
Yeah,
like that's a dilemma I think we have right now. It's like, how much can you be able to play with the images that you create?
It's insane what you could do with technology now. Like I photographed a dancer when I went to France, and I was photographing her backstage with the GFX. And I remember I shot her at 12,500 ISO, and then that looks really grainy. But then like now you put it and you clean it with the Lightroom AI.
Yeah.
And it's like it's usable.
Everything is
it's insane. I was like, you could not do that like 5 years ago. But like 5 years ago, you could not shoot medium format on something like that. And now the technology allows you to do that, which is insane.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be an interesting market that we're gonna get into. I saw they released a video camera. I'm yet to see how that looks.
Yeah, I'm dying to like I love that format, like the tall format, like we were talking earlier. Because number one, I just love that it's 4x3.
Yes.
The full frame, and I just I love that because it's a taller frame, depending on how you want to frame stuff. But then also that like if you film it at native format, it's a lot easier to crop it to vertical because vertical is a big thing now. You know, whether people hate that or not, like it is here, like
it's what the flavor and where you're ending up. Deliverables, right?
Yeah.
Like right now, everything that we do, we have to do 16 by 9 and 9 by 16.
Yeah.
It's like everything. Everyone is like, but it's good. It has its ups, right? Because you're hitting two different audiences at the same time. Like some of them will only live in TikTok and Instagram, right? So short form will always end up there, and people who love long form will go to where they can actually experience it. which is the same with our podcast, right? We'll go to the podcast places of video and all that, but we also have the social aspect with, Instagram and TikTok and all that we need to still keep our content and kind of push it there. So we're at a crossroad, but, I think it's fun for creatives right now.
Yeah.
You brought up AI. It would be hard to go away from that. What tools are you using?
I use ChatGPT a lot, but like that's it. Like and other than that, just somewhat. I haven't gotten much into what is it? Open AI, or which one's the one that does the images? Like I haven't gotten that much.
Which is still ChatGPT, Sora.
Oh, so, yeah, right, Sora.
Yeah.
Like I haven't gotten that into much, but I did see like your video that you were talking about, like doing previs with AI, and I think that's wonderful. Not good for a lot of traditional artists out there that do like the
illustrations and
all that. And to a certain extent, I also like I saw a whole thing that like that people are against AI for storytelling, and they're saying it's not cinema, and for that, like I think it just depends on what your goal is. Like, right, if your goal is just to tell a story, AI will be wonderful for that.
Yeah.
And then like cinema, like you have to define what cinema is to you.
That's true.
Like, right, because it's like like for example, like to Quentin Tarantino, cinema it's shooting on film and watching a projector, a film print.
True.
Right, he says that a digital projector, oh, that's not cinema, that's crap, and blah blah blah.
Exactly.
Like, which is, to me, it's in a pretty extreme view.
Yes.
Which is fine. Everyone's allowed to have their opinion, but to me, at the end of the day, it's like the goal, at least to me, is storytelling and being able to get someone to evoke an emotion in somebody.
True.
And by certain definitions, like, right, if you want to go by traditional cinema, then cartoons and all the animated movies are technically not cinema.
True.
Right, because they're not, or the CGI movies
definition
that they have, like, right,
have.
it's not right. It's not technically it's not cinema. And I think like ultimately, I think that like could open doors to people that would never have the access to tell stories. You know what I mean? And if someone has a great story in their mind and they could create it with AI, and it's successful, more power to them.
That's true.
And a lot of people are like, oh, that's taking jobs from actors, cinematographers, this and that. Well, like, I don't think that would have been created in the first place if that person didn't have access to that technology. Because it's just like, because generally, like, what that's going to open up the doors to, I think, is to people that are truly awkward and introvert and can go out and articulate their vision
that's a good point.
To a cinematographer or like a studio or whatever, depending if it stays for free, right? Because right now it's for free because they're testing it out. But I would not be surprised if, like, a year or two from now, when they try to cash in, and like Sora or whatever, that could be like they could be charging $5,000 per month or whatever it is, True.
So
right now it's free, so it's pretty democratized and people are not commercializing off of it. But like if it stays like how it is, like that could open the doors for people that don't have those access, or anything like that, And I think you'll be able to see really, when things become democratized, it's just like you really see who's a good storyteller.
That's
and tells everything like that, because it's just like I think that a lot of people that are, not trying to be controversial here, but like I think I'm gonna probably ruffle some feathers saying this, but like I think a lot of people that are put on pedestals now that are like supposedly masters or icons,
yes,
would have never been masters or icons if there had been a level playing field.
That's true.
Like like my first example like that I could say with athletes in sports is like, oh, Babe Ruth is a legend, Babe Ruth is a king, and he played when there was only white athletes. He wasn't playing against Latinos or African Americans.
True.
Right? So he was only playing against a small segment of all those, like, players and stuff like that. Like, right? And all that. And same thing with cinema. Like, right? Orson Welles is amazing and blah, blah, blah. He's an amazing storyteller. Look at all those. It's like people say, oh, like, those are all white men that are white directors. Right? They were not going against other, directors that were minorities that had the opportunity. They were not going against Ryan Coogler. Or any directors that were minorities. Right? They had the opportunity because of who they were.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of other people that could have been probably more talented than them and had better stories to tell just did not get that opportunity. Simply because of either their gender or their ethnicity or their race. And then I think when everything becomes more level playing field, like, you know what I mean? It's just like you get to see who truly is talented.
Who truly is, yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Like, there's always someone who opportunity comes to them, and there's others who are seeking it or working hard to get to that point, but probably they will never hit that mark. It comes easier for others than the rest, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think the disruptions help shake up the whole thing, and then someone might show up into that, right? But also, I think your approach makes a lot of sense because it's there's gonna be an audience for it. There's gonna be people who are gonna consume this, right? And at some point, I was talking to a buddy of mine this week, and he said, at some point, you're gonna have the title "Made by Humans."
Yeah.
It's gonna now be the cool thing because you go to watch film. Most people watch film. Most people will be like, I don't care about film. I'll go watch it digitally, right? Or I'll shoot film, or I'll shoot digital, right? Or I believe in digital more than film and all that, right? Now we've added another guy in here who's AI, right? That's gonna create films. Will it be? Yes, it will have to compete against everything, but I think just the definition of that, it might be someone else's cup of tea. And for now, the production will be easier to make. It's not there yet. I've not seen anything that I'm like, wow. This trumps what we've seen in media or what we've seen in movies or theaters. I've not seen anything yet. It's probably we'll start seeing that, right? As more people get in and more people learn how to do it and, do what they do. But made by humans.
Yeah, I think that. I also think that's not gonna go away. The human performance and element to it. But again, it's the question of what is cinema? Like, I just saw a whole movie actually this morning on my phone.
You
the
did?
Netflix #2 movie. It was
you
House of Dynamite or House of
Were you on 9x16 or 16x9?
Oh no, horizontal. I was when I was getting my steps in when I was walking on the treadmill.
Oh, okay.
So I watched the movie.
You can watch a whole thing.
But my point being, it's like I watched an entire movie that could have been on the phone, and it's just
That's
like
true. Yeah.
the cinematographer that shot that, or the director shot that, probably wasn't envisioning people watching that on their phone.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man,
and they're probably gonna take it personally, but
yeah, which is just like, you think about.
Oh, we watch this stuff on the plane too.
Or on the plane too, right?
Horrible.
Which is
My phone is probably better than the plane camera,
Yeah.
than the plane screen, But yeah, they didn't anticipate that you're gonna be consuming that medium.
The entire movie on your phone, yeah, and it's just like, man, like I think about that too a lot of times when you do stuff like that. It's like you hope people would see it on a gigantic screen with a good sound system, and it's like, no, it's on the phone with my AirPods on, and you watch it when you can, or a lot of times it's just watch it on my laptop.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a part, right? Like there's the people who will appreciate it where it is, and go and try and seek it to watch it. 70mm, you would look for theaters that have that, and some people are like, I just want to watch a good movie. I'll go find it at the theater that's showing it, right?
Yeah, that's another thing too. That's just like, if you made a movie, to me, when I make a short film, and I'm hopefully working on I'm trying to do a full documentary with a dancer, and like the question always comes up, it's just like, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to go to film festivals, or like my goal, my whole philosophy is like, I just want as many people to see it as possible.
Sure.
Right.
That's impact. Yeah.
And that's my goal. Like, right. And like, because it's just like I have mixed feelings about film festivals, because it's just like I feel like you can't show it anywhere. The movie has to remain unpublished.
Yes.
And then you have to pay to apply to these film festivals, and 90% of them are just like, I'm sorry to say, like trash. Like, right, they're just like money grabs, and it's just like they're my perspective on it. It's like a lot of them are pointless, because it's just like you see so many independent films like best cinematography, best acting, best this and that, and you look at the film and it's horrible, and it's just like you're basically just paying for those awards on these like no-name film festivals.
But also that's based on the pool of the guests or the films that were submitted in that specific festival,
which shows you the caliber of films that they're that they're taking, and it's just like, man, like which is great, that it's a huge feather in the hat to that director or filmmaker. But it's just like, I don't know, I'd rather put it for free on YouTube, and hopefully it catches like, a lot of views. And I think that, like you were saying, that has impact. And like that's my main goal, But like it goes back to like, would you rather, if you made a film that is viewed 100 million times on cell phones and laptops, or would you prefer to have a theatrical release where it's only seen by like 4,000 people?
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's always that dilemma. Like for me, I'd rather have a lot of people just see the film,
That's
so
true.
it reaches a lot more lives and has a bigger impact. And that to me is ultimately what's most important.
I think that's, yeah, you want more people to watch it than a selected few. And also, it's like, what's the goal for it, right? Were you making it for selected few group of people, or were you trying to get it to the message or the film to, you know, to be seen by more people?
Yeah.
I think that's the question. It's like, okay, did you make it for this small bucket of circle of people, or let's spread it, man. Let's put it all out there, And I think that's what social media and all these other avenues are showing up, right? It's like, give it away. Let's see what happens. And of course, like with that, you're building also the credibility and the visibility as an artist.
Yeah, and hopefully an audience.
And an
You're building
audience.
an audience
And now
with that,
you own your own audience, right? Because they came to you in your house, right? Because if it's on YouTube or whatever, that's your house.
Yeah.
Right? It's Alexis' place, right? You know where you're getting it, and okay, what is he making next? Then I gotta talk to him directly, or even just message him and ask him, hey, what's next, man? Can I check it out, or when is the next one coming? So now you actually have your own audience that you're growing and building, which is amazing. I appreciate your time, and I wanted to ask, what's next for you?
Man, it's just that I'm hoping to be able to do that documentary.
Yes.
And I don't know. We'll see if it's either a short film that's anywhere between 2 to 12 minutes, or a full feature documentary, which will be 90 minutes.
Okay.
And then doing an exhibition of the work I've did with Sasha, with a dancer I've been working with for 6 years.
Yes.
So this is her 20th season coming up dancing, and it's also my 20th year as a photographer.
Congratulations.
So thank you. So I want to do an exhibition where we show, call it 2020, 20 images, 20 years.
Okay.
And so I'm looking for a place in San Francisco to have that exhibition, figure that out, and then hopefully do that in tandem too with the short documentary I'm doing with her.
Amazing.
So I got to figure out how to get that done and get the.
Is that this year or next year? This year is already close to being done.
We started.
November,
no,
December.
It's not. We're just like in the beginning phases of it. So it will be hopefully started this year and then go into next year, and it'll probably be released like the following year.
Okay, so that's amazing. What is the biggest challenge that you've had, or one of the best shoots that you've had, either on this book or just any work that you've done that you're like, this is a memorable? We have the Floyd one. Which other one?
Yeah, I was gonna say that one, because on that one I
that
stopped
one was
being
on
nervous.
point. That was amazing story. Nothing can top that one.
Well, because that one I said like that, like I don't know, like I stopped getting nervous after that, which is like really interesting. I should go to a therapist and try to figure out why that happened. But I'm trying to say, trying to think. I would probably say, instead of one shoot, I would say probably one person, which is Sasha the solo and meeting working with her, and
Yes.
she's been incredible to work with, almost like my North Star, I would say. Like she's the only person who I've photographed in every film format, 35 millimeter medium format, 4x5, 8x10, and I've done so much creative work with her. And then one of the things that I looking back in the whole body of work that I've done with her, that I like, is that there is no one image that I could pick out to say, oh, this is like my main image of her, or like my main, or there are a lot of images I like, but what I like about that is because I heard Roger Deakins talking about cinematography and how a movie should be.
Yes.
And one of the things that he was saying is that like a good cinematography for a whole movie shouldn't be that you have one scene that's amazing, that's incredible, and it stands out.
Yes.
It's like
yes,
that
I
it should be
remember reading
consistent and that it should be even throughout.
Yes.
And like you shouldn't have a master shot or a scene that's like above everything else.
Yes.
And that's how I feel with my work with Sasha. Like if you send me pick out a favorite image of her, I don't have one that just stands out. I have that with other people and with other dancers I work with, and which is great and it's cool. But like I always think back to Roger Deakins saying that when it comes to my work with Sasha, because I just feel like every time I create with her, like it's always she always performs at the highest level.
Amazing.
and consistent too. So it's like I like to say like she performs there's something a rule called with the athletes called like the 90% rule or something like that. I'm probably butchering it,
Okay.
but it's like if you tell an athlete, the concept is if you tell an athlete to go 100%,
Yes.
they'll go 100% for like 5 minutes and then it declines.
Yeah.
But if you tell them, oh, go 90%, they'll go like 98% and they'll do it like the whole time.
Got it.
Right. So I
Okay.
feel like working with Sasha is like that. Like,
Okay.
right. And
Okay.
I'm always left feeling fulfilled and like I want to do more instead of burned out.
Amazing.
So I would say working with her, and then the biggest thing that I want to say about that to people is like I was never supposed to meet her or work with her. The only reason I met her was because something didn't work out
Yeah.
with someone else. And I didn't give up, and I'm like, no, like screw this. I'm gonna keep trying to find another dancer. And I reached out to like another dancer. She said no. Another dancer said no. And then the third one I reached out to was Sasha, and she said, yeah, I'll work with you.
Okay.
And it's like there's I think another key lesson on that. It's just like if something doesn't work out, generally in my experience, it's usually a blessing in disguise because that means there's gonna be something better for you than what that originally was that didn't work out.
Don't
As
force
long
it, huh?
as long as you don't give up.
As long
You
as
need
you
to keep
don't
going,
give up. That's a good point. And you don't force it, right?
Yeah.
Like just let it go. Which out of your whole portfolio, which has a lot of celebrities, a lot of athletes, everyone, which one would you say was your best?
My best like
The one that you're like, man, this was an honor meeting this person or even photographing this person that you're like, you've always been looking forward to and you got a chance to actually.
You know what, man? I am not like people when I hate it. I am actually not a gigantic like sports fan. Like I'm not like and I think that probably helps me photograph athletes because I don't like
I don't know what you
wow
do
like
with
that like right and so it's like not I mean the only time and I didn't even really photograph him that I did photograph him one time but the first time I got starstruck was and the only time was with Oscar de la Hoya when I first saw him.
Okay.
That was the first. I was like, oh my god, this Oscar because I remember growing up watching him fight.
Yeah.
And then that's it. But like I'm trying to think like on anyone, but like it like for me personally, like it wouldn't be like. I mean, I guess it's cool because it gives you credibility.
Yeah.
And people love it, but like I don't do it to impress other people. So like I hate to say no one because I do have like you said like great people in a portfolio book, but I'd never like say I want to get this person for my book and like oh my god like that's great because at the end of the day it's just like I gotta get the job and I gotta get the shot done.
Yeah.
I mean I briefly like I said I got a chance to photograph Nas and that was pretty cool because I remember that's the first rap album I bought with my own money. It was written back in 96 and so that was pretty cool. But like again that's nothing that like I was like. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm kind of stumped on that question, man.
No, that's good. Nas is good though. He's so down to earth.
Yeah, he's super chill, man.
Super chill. You don't even tell like
and doing that
and the amazing work that he's done and his music. It's like
yeah, I'm trying to think, man. That's a good question because it's like like Steph was cool. I mean, I would say the person that really impressed me, I think LeBron James. He was like a complete gentleman.
Okay.
And like he was amazing to photograph. He's like a professional model, like he knew exactly what to do in front of the camera. He was absolutely polite and a gentleman. He left a really good impression on me. So I mean, I guess I would say him because of that the way he left me a really good impression. Yeah.
Hey, you remember that? No, that's amazing. That's amazing. Let's put in a plug. How can people find you?
Everything's just my name at alexiscuarezma.com. My Instagram, my YouTube channel, everything. If you just put my website, just that's where I'm at. Yep.
Okay. And you do you have any speaking engagements coming up? Or?
I do. I have it's not announced yet, but it's just an online seminar that I got asked to do for a PPA. I think somewhere I think it was the Minnesota PPA that reached out to me. So it'll be sometime in November.
Find it on your website kind of deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I love this. Thank you for watching Balancing Acts podcast. Had a good session with Alexis over here. Check out his website, his portfolio, and also how he stays grounded, how he stays passionate, and how resilient he is with everything that he's doing.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and like and subscribe on the channel. Thank you. Peace.